right, good evening. I'm going to call to order the HEDRA meeting for January 9th, 2025. First order of business is we do have a quorum, so I think we are good to proceed. John, are you leading us in the oath of office for new commissioners?
I am. I'm going to go over here. We have Commissioner Horsch and new Commissioner House could stand up, please. I think Angie had the opportunity to meet you all here. If she hadn't met you before, Angie's our new council representative on HEDRA. So I've got the sheet in front of you. You want to follow along as well. But if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Margaret Horsch,
Do affirm that I will support the Constitution
that will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of Minnesota,
of the State of Minnesota,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Hastings,
of the City of Hastings,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of a HEDRA Commissioner
the duties of a HEDRA Commissioner
for the City of Hastings,
for the City of Hastings,
Counties of Dakota and Washington,
Counties of Dakota and Washington,
and State of Minnesota,
and State of Minnesota,
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
Well, congratulations, Commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, thank you and welcome. Okay, next item is minutes. Does anybody have questions on minutes from our last meeting? Discussion? No comments? I'll take a motion to approve then if someone would like to. Got a motion? Second. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from last meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Next up, item 3, bills. Any discussion from staff on clarifying any bills?
Sure. A couple bills to point out here. We got our Highway 55 small area plan, and talk a little bit that later in the meeting, but that's going well. Some legal fees from Levander on that one. Our annual subscription fee for the Economic Development Association in Minnesota, and some relocation fees for Block 28. I think that's most of it. Oh, and not to forget the big stipend that you all get in December every year. That's all.
Thanks for mentioning that. Great. Okay, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving bills, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next item is business. We are looking at appointing officers.
We are. Just a couple of items prior to that. We need to appoint officers for HEDRA for 2025. We have some that we've put in here. One is Alex Menke here as our secretary. We also have Chris Idemiller as our finance manager serving as assistant treasurer, and then to designate Corey Land as well as Greta Björkner. She is not in the packet, but she will also provide city attorney services this year. And Andrea McDowell-Paler, who is our TIF attorney, as legal counsel. So we're having those recommendations brought forward, but there's also a part for you to decide at this point, and that is the election of your officials, the president, vice president, and treasurer. Now, these 3 individuals can be elected from, or must be elected from the citizen commissioners. The council representatives would not be eligible to serve in these facilities and these positions. So at this time, we have Trevor serving as our president, Ben as vice president, and Estrella as treasurer. So we can take motions and nominations either individually or in a group, and I will leave the floor open to the commissioners. Thank you.
I'd like to move as a group the appointment of Commissioner Anderson as president, Commissioner Carter as vice president, and Commissioner Goldbush as our treasurer for 2005.
Second.
Just one point of clarification with that amendment. Would you consider an amendment to that for the other designations for Attorney Land, Björkness, Paler, and then Ida Miller's as assistant treasurer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of approving the motion as stated and amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay, do we shuffle
right.
seats right now?
We can hand over the gavel. The seats are up to you. All right.
All right, I guess the next order of business.
Yep.
Resolution 2025-1, authorization of bank signatures.
Yes, so the resolution we have forward to that will be completed with the names that were just part of the appointment of officers. So we would have in there President Anderson, Vice President Carter, and Treasurer Goblish. So looking for a motion and second on that, please.
I'll accept a motion to approve that. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, item C, block 28.
Yes. Block 28, we're looking at 418 Vermilion Street, better known as the Dick's Barber Shop building. A couple of years ago, when we purchased that building, we entered into a purchase agreement with the owner, 1213 Properties, to grant them the ability to collect lease payments for the units within the building for the next 2 years. And that agreement comes up for expiration at the end of May. The purpose behind that agreement was there was a difference between what the owner of the property was seeking for acquisition and what HEDRA was willing to offer, and this was a way to bridge the gap on that one. What we're looking at within the building is there's 4 residential units and then the commercial space with Dick's Barber Shop. The present day situation we have is Dick's just recently vacated at the end of the year. One of the residential units has also vacated. So at the moment, there are 3 residential units within the building. So we do have this expiration coming up in 2025. If nothing is done at that point, we would take over as landlord of the building, and the existing tenants would continue to rent out until we gave them notice of something that would change. So that's what would happen if we do nothing. We have a couple of options that could be considered tonight, and another one that I'm adding on here as well beyond the packet. One would be to amend the purchase agreement to allow the former owner to manage the property and collect rents, essentially continue on as we have been. When looking at that one, I think that this would enrich the former property owner beyond what we agreed to, so I'm not really looking at doing that within the situation. Other would be to assume responsibility for the property management with HEDRA collecting rents. You know, we would get in rents probably a couple $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 a month on that one for rents that are coming forward. And what we'd also have the responsibilities to fix toilets and to answer calls, which I don't want to do, nor do I want to put the staff of the city in that position. So I'm not looking at that either. We could contract maintenance responsibilities to the former owner, another party, and then pay them out of the collection of rents. So this would just be a fee contract. We'd pay them X amount of money to take care of these things. The more I thought about this, I thought, well, maybe that's the way to go on this one. But the more I thought about it, we bought the building 2 years ago. The tenants of the building have been put on notice the last couple of years on this one. They know that a time is coming that they're going to need to vacate the building, and we've had a contract with SRF, a relocation specialist, during that period of time. So maybe it would be best for us just to tell the tenants that they need to be out by May 30th, that we're going to shut the building down at that point, and then we can proceed at that stature. So as I think about this after I put the report out, I'm more leaning towards that as a recommendation, but wanted to have the discussion with the board tonight. I wanted to have this early enough so either A, we could provide notice to those tenants within the building, or B, we could provide another agreement to move forward for HEDRA consideration in the future. So open it up for any discussion.
John, if I recall, when we signed that deal, we had lined up the deal to expire when those leases expire. Is that correct? So we didn't want to put out any of the residents that are living there now. So their leases should expire at that time as well, correct?
That's my understanding from 2 years ago, and I'm not sure if any leases were extended beyond that period, but that's what they were extended to at that time.
Okay, and I thought since we were the property owner that was in there, that he could not extend the lease beyond that date.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure we're not putting anybody out.
Yeah. And I think
Choose to do that.
the gist of it is there's been at least 2 years that residents of the building have made notice of impending closure of the building.
Thanks.
And if we proceed with closing it in May, there are no liabilities for relocation fees or anything like that, are there? Or what are we on the hook for potentially?
The liabilities we have would remain as is. So all of the 3 remaining tenants within the building we'd still have obligations for payment of relocation in that one. You've seen some of the bills come in from SRF for some of the work that they've done, but that would continue.
John, I guess, thinking about it and remembering 2 years ago, the discussion that when the lease is up, that it's time to vacate the property and move forward with our overall plan. And I think we should follow through with that. It's like, no, okay, if we're gonna go, nope, we'll let you go month to month or something like this, or something happens in the building, I'd rather say, no, the position that the city should take or HEDRA should take is that this was the agreement set out 2 years ago, and here's the final date, and we're gonna proceed with that. And that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with that too, as well as recent developments, buying the former Wells Fargo property as well. Given our portfolio on that block, we wouldn't want to lock ourselves up for any additional time frame given with our plans there.
Okay.
I agree with that option as well.
Well, there's not necessarily an action needed for this. I just wanted to check in. What I'm hearing the consensus of HEDRA tell me at this point is that the contract that would expire on May 30, we would let expire at May 30. We would provide notice to the owners of that again, and then we would move forward at that point. If that all is an agreement, I will continue to do that. If there's further discussion, I'm happy to hear that as well.
Did you look into the cost to hire property management services?
Have not, no. My initial thought on that was, hey, we're not immediately ready to redevelop the site, so yeah, maybe we hang on for a few more months on that one, collect some rents. It wouldn't be much, but the more I think about that, we might be in the position of getting something done this year, so let's just close the building down and proceed with redevelopment. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
On to item D, Resolution 2025-2, approving an amendment to facade improvement program grant for 2021, for 221 Sibley Street.
Yeah. So back in September, HEDRA approved a facade improvement program grant for 221 Sibley Street. And the original grant amount was for just over $4,700. The work was to do window replacements on the Masonic Block building, just right here on Sibley. And the originally quoted price that the original grant amount was based off of was $14,195. When the property owner came to submit for their reimbursement, the final cost was a little bit higher at $14,740. $82, so just over $500 more of it was all labor, just a little extra time on that one. So they were seeking to see if their grant could be amended to cover a bit of that extra cost. So after reviewing it, staff feels that it's in line with what we've done in the past for precedent on amending some of these in the past. So we're just seeking an amendment to the grant amount from that $4,731.67 to $4,913.61, just to align with the costs. And I'll stand for any questions.
I just have a suggestion. I don't know if it would work, maybe run it by legal, that when we do these program grants maybe give you a certain up to percentage to be able to do this without having to bring it back to us, because it's not a huge deal, but it might help with staff not having to come back every time, and I feel real comfortable with that. Our numbers are fairly small, so just a thought.
No, that's a great note, and can definitely look at what we could do from a legal standpoint, or if the program might need to be, like verbiage might need to be retooled, but that might align well because we're looking at doing that early part of this year anyway.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve.
With that, I'll move Resolution 2025-02, approving an amendment to facade improvement program grant for 221 Sibley Street.
Second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. On to 5, reports and information. Item A is Community Development Annual Report.
Thank you, Mr. President and Commission members. In putting this together the last week or so, I will email you a copy of this after the meeting. I just finished it up late yesterday. But I wanted to go through our Community Development Annual Reports. I'm going to highlight a few things related to some of the planning functions, other functions that we do here, and then focus a lot within the functions that we've been doing as HEDRA over the last year or so. Take a look at just the market and what's been happening in construction. We had 43 single-family homes last year, but 12 million in valuation. The one thing to note there is that's the most single-family homes that we've seen in Hastings in 20 years. Not by a lot, but most of the time we've been seeing stuff around the 25 range. So to go up to 43 was more significant for us. That in turn, we didn't see any apartment construction for new permits this year, although we did see some finaling out of previous projects in there. So you'll see the permit number be down on that one, but from a single-family standpoint, certainly higher than we've seen in the last 20. We've seen construction commence and complete with some of our apartment projects with the current 33, 211 units down on 33rd Street, both buildings completed in 24. In Heritage Ridge, which is off of General Sieben Drive in Fallbrook, out of the 80 home sites that are there, 60 of them are under construction or have been constructed. There is one phase left in that development, and that may be coming forward in 25. So they've been seeing good growth there, usually a couple permits a month. Lake Isabel Flats within the downtown was completed and is doing well. Vermilion Acres chugs along on County Road 47, sometimes with more effort than others. What we're hearing at this point is that by spring of 25, that it might be open, but we see things proceeding. Well, hopefully we'll come to an end with that one. Villas at Present is almost complete. That's the townhome project or the Villa Home project in North Ridge and Pleasant Drive. 38 units were created with home sites. 32 of those are under construction. We only have 6 left, and they've been submitting on quite a quip, so that'll fill out this year as well. And then we had a new development come in with South Oaks of Hastings 4th Edition. This is 35 single-family home sites on the south end of town between 31st Street and South Oaks Drive. We've had 2 of those under construction as we speak. The Walden at Hastings development, which we spoke of about this time last year, which was an annexation completed and plans for about 500 home sites on Highway 316 in Michael, stays where it's been about the last year. I've had discussions with the owner. They have said that they're moving along. We haven't seen anything come forward with any new plans, so it's a wait-and-see situation. They have not submitted a complete application for any land use changes at this point, so it's out there. It may be coming forward, but we didn't really see much progress throughout 24 on that one. Then we have our commercial and industrial development sites. So we had 81 permits for commercial and industrial expansion for $20 million last year. So we've had some larger projects that have came through. We had United Heroes League Stadium and Locker Room project getting ready for Hockey Day, Minnesota. Rio Grande Trucking on 31st Street. Approval of that in the lot sale. That'll be hopefully under construction in 25. Storage works out on Spiral Boulevard. Another repair facility in the industrial park. and then some cleanup of some other projects we've been working on the last couple of years. Virginia Assisted Living finished, and Dakota County Law Enforcement just about done at this point. So looking at some of the Planning Commission activities, one of the things that we've been working with the Planning Commission and I've been sharing with HEDRA has been our Highway 55 Growth Area Plan. This is the plan looking at Highway 55 in the vicinity west to Jacob Avenue and further down to 15th Street to indicate what we would like to see with new development. I think the important part about this is not a plan in which we are buying property or we are advocating for development, but a realization that development interest is out there and people that own property and develop are asking us what we want to see. So this provides an image of what we want to see at this point. We're in the final stages. We have the draft that was out for comment in December. The comments are being compiled and we'll be having more follow-up here as we move forward. The Planning Commission also worked on cannabis ordinances last year, had a few permits for that, amended our chicken, ducks, and quail ordinance, and working on our zoning code. That's one of the big things that will be coming forward in 2025. There'll be more public discussion of that as the year moves on. From a permit standpoint, more detail on what we saw here. The 43 permits were all single family. When we take a look at last year, we had 264, a lot of that being the apartment projects we came forward with. From the commercial industrial, the number of permits we had was similar to that, albeit the valuation was down a little bit on that. We had about 38 million last year, about 20 million this year. We had a little more expensive projects last year that rose that number up. When we take a look at our land supply within town, what do we have available? Divide that into a couple of different things. We have existing lot inventory, which means someone can come in and a lot is available, they can build tomorrow. One planned lot inventory in which there's been some development approvals, but final approvals have not been granted, and then kind of looking at the potential that's out there. From a single-family lot standpoint, we got about 139 lots immediately available, about 200 in the queue, and another 176 that are out there in the future. The townhome development has always been a strange thing. I've had this on here for years, and frankly, we haven't had a townhome constructed in town for about 10, 15 years. Maybe that'll change with new things coming forward, but the inventory we have there has been around for 15 or more years. And then you got the multifamily, which is difficult to predict. You have spits and spurts of that one. The last couple of years, we've had a lot of apartment growth. The demand may still be there, we may see more of it, and then there may be a drawing off of that for a period of time. But we had 107 units approved or under construction right now at present, and another 600 planned and almost 1,000 in our potential inventory. So we have a lot of supply with that in the future. Some data here looking at our housing permit numbers over the last couple of years. And then more specifically to HEDRA. The primary project that we've been involved in the last couple of years needs a name. Block 28 just doesn't really do it for me. I'm calling it the Gateway Project. I'm open to suggestions on that one. But ultimately, what we want to be able to do is when folks come across the 61 bridge and they enter downtown and the stoplight at 4th Street, we want to present them with a better image of Hastings than what's there presently. The image there on the left kind of shows what that is today. And what we want to be able to do is have the image to the right from our Vermilion Street corridor plan be something in the future. This year we made great strides. I want to point to this map, which you've seen a few times in the past. This is the block here. The yellow is what we acquired this year. This is the Wells Fargo site. And then all the green areas were the other properties that we've acquired over the last 2 or 3 years. Got 90% of the block now. As you can see from this, we have enough property on the block to have a viable development project. We are still in discussions with Spiral Pizza, who has the remaining parcels, to see if they would be a willing seller of property. But with them or without them, we have enough property on this block to move forward. And that's a great thing. I mean, when we started this out, we were taking chances on buying individual buildings without knowing what our coverage might be and if a project might take place. We have a lot more confidence today that we can do something on this project. So that's a great testament to what this commission has done and the fortitude that they've had to move forward. Also worked last year with this retail opportunity site on Pleasant and South Frontage Road. As we all know, this was going to be a national retailer site. They backed out of the agreement, so we still own the site. It's a 4-acre site. It's encumbered by a ponding area in there, but it's still next to commercial space. So it's one thing to bear in mind here as we move forward, that this could be a future opportunity for development. And so have that in the queue of properties we mentioned to people that may be looking. Another neat thing we did this year was 213 Ramsey Street, the lease for the arts for HPAC. So leasing out the 4,500 square feet of the building we own to provide for the program operations. I think during our strategic plan, we recognized that there's some projects that are more immediate in the queue, and that being mostly the Gateway Block 28. That this block here has value as a redevelopment site in the future, but we're not quite there yet. So this is a great way to be able to use that property in the interim to provide space for a great organization and also provide some activity within that area of town. I guess I liked it so much I put it up twice. Wow, okay. Missed something there. One of the things we have not mentioned is the Confluence, and this is probably one of the last times I'll mention it, but it was a big project for us. We did get an innovation award in 2024 from Rescape, which is a brownfields organization in Minnesota that recognized the innovation that went into that. So that was nice to receive that award from them for a long-fought project, and a project we spent a lot of time on this commission being able to bring forward. We've had our facade improvement program the last couple of years. We had $26,000 distributed to 7 projects last year, which leveraged an additional $134,000 in new development, or new investment. So this is a listing of the amounts that we put out. This is kind of an interesting image here. So you got the before and after, and you're like, well, this looks like the after, but this will look much better when it has a mural on it. But as you recall, wasn't able to find a good picture of when they tore down the mural and had all the stucco and bricks and other things down there and neglected to be out there, but I think you all remember what that looked like. So as we move forward, this has been a good program for us. We'll take a look at whether any changes should be made to the program as we move forward in 25. Makers Market was big this year. It was an expansion of what we've done in the past. What we're doing is during the Rotary Pavilion concert series, we were offering space down on the river flats to be able to have space for makers, people that are crafters, small brands, artists, to sell their wear in conjunction with the concert. Figuring we've got a number of people out here for the concert in the pavilion, we have a captive audience, let's help out our small businesses. This grew this year. This was a great project that happened. So we had 25, 30 people, sometimes more per event. And in fact, when we take a look at 2025, we're looking at coordinating this directly with the concert series to do this on every concert night. So we'll have something meaningful that when people come down, people know that there's something happening on a Thursday night down on the riverfront. Not only the concert, which is great, but also this other activity down here. So we'll have that going forward this year, and we hope to see further success in it. One of the things that was new to us this year was the Local Affordable Housing Aid, LAHA funds. These are tax funds, sales tax funds, the state legislature allocated to cities. In 2024, we received $114,000. We had some discussions on what to do with it, and ultimately decided to allocate the funding to Dakota CDA to provide the home improvement loan program, which provides up to $35,000 in no-interest deferred loans to single-family homeowners, and radon mitigation programs. So they'll be doing more of that as we go into 25, and it's great to have more aid within there. And then our Open to Business program continues on. Natalie Musso, our representative, is great. She worked with a number of individuals this year to provide entrepreneur assistance and guidance in development and expansion of businesses. Then we have our strategic plan. So on May 7th last year, we adopted the strategic plan to guide our future priorities. We have 5 main categories here, and I just wanted to provide some updates. Some of the stuff we've talked about, perhaps some others we haven't. The development of underutilized site, we've talked about the 400 Vermillion Street, Wells Fargo. Another thing we've done in '25 is we've allocated funds for Westview Mall to helpfully provide some assistance to provide more development at that site and to provide some sprucing up of the site as well. We had the leased property to HPAC, and then our parking study. One of the things that was interesting to me was with all the apartment development and the development of the Confluence coming online this year, how is that going to affect our parking levels in the downtown? And found out that parking is still adequate, and we don't see any issues from it. This is a good thing when we're looking at more intensity within the downtown area. The more intensity, the more people, the more residents that we have downtown, just increases the viability of what's going on down there. The potential detriment to that as well is parking, does parking suffer from that? And found out through the study that there wasn't significant changes before Confluence than after Confluence and Lake Isabel Flats. So that was great to see. We have the existing affordable housing stock support, the LAHA funds we mentioned, the character and tourism attraction, that facade improvement grant program, and then we continue to meet with the Hastings Chamber of Commerce and businesses to solicit feedback on our development processes. And then Alex has been key to completing about 70 drop-in businesses sites for last year. So just coming in, talking to businesses, seeing things, how things are going. And then he also went through a training program on how to better facilitate business retention and expansion visits. So we'll be doing more of that in the next year. So I think that's all I had here. So I have a fuller report that I will send out to you folks here after the meeting, but I can stand for any questions.
I just want to give you guys accolades. I mean, this is very impressive, and I'm just proud. I mean, this is amazing, so I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I guess no questions, but just thank you for all the work you guys do. It's noticed and appreciated. So I think the city should be proud as well of the folks working downtown here. So,
Thank you.
all right, on to item B, development updates, new information.
I'm gonna stay here. There's not a lot that I have. December wasn't a big month for development. The one thing that did go on is the Highway 55 small area plan. The comment period ended at the end of the year, and so we'll be having more information come back on that one. Other than that, had a few people poking around on stuff, but haven't seen anything officially come in yet.
All right, if there's no questions on that, then I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.